Well, hello and welcome to our weekly Smithsonian Learning Lab office hours. My name is Darren Milligan. I'm here in Washington, D.C. At the Center for Learning and Digital Access at the Smithsonian Institution. And this is our weekly open session. We'll be here today from 4 to 5 p.m. to answer any questions you might have about finding and using digital resources from across the Smithsonian's museums, research centers, libraries, archives, or the National Zoo. Any question is a good question, so let me know how we can help. We'll go through a couple slides here just to walk everybody through how this works. We're here pretty much every Tuesday. In July and August, we have a couple weeks off for the summer since lots of teachers are taking a well-needed break. But you can find our full schedule on our About Events page at learninglab.si.edu/about/events, or if you go right to the Learning Lab homepage and you hit Learn over here on the left, you can scroll down and see our full listing of events. And you can see all of our office hours are listed here. So you can see that our next event will be on August 11th. So 2 weeks from today will be our next event. I'll be here again, joining you in 2 weeks. The way that office hours works is you can hear and see me, but I can't hear and see you, but you can type your questions into me. So if you're watching this stream on YouTube, on the Smithsonian Education YouTube channel, you should see a chat box just to the right of the video. Sometimes it's just below the video, so you might have to scroll down a little bit to see it. You should see a welcome message in there from Smithsonian Education. And that's how you can get your questions in there. You just post a question in the chat area. If you're joining us today on the Smithsonian Education Facebook channel, you can submit your questions by commenting on this video. So you should see just below the video, again, a comment from Smithsonian Education welcoming you to office hours. And if you comment on the video there, I'll be able to see your comments and I can get to your questions. So again, any question is a good question. We, the Center for Learning and Digital Access, is the office that manages the Smithsonian Learning Lab, which is our tool for discovering and using all the digital resources from across the Smithsonian. We can certainly answer any questions you might have, though, about the Smithsonian, about particular objects or resources from our museums, or if you're interested in learning a little bit more about one of the tools of the lab, we can walk you through that and give you a tour. I want to also call out here at the beginning of the session the distance learning resources that are available from the Smithsonian. Our museums have been closed since middle of March, but since then, the educators from across our museums have been aggregating resources that work well for distance learning. And so if you visit learninglab.si.edu/distance learning, you'll find a wealth of resources that are aligned to national subject standards, resources that are bilingual Spanish and English, resources for caregivers, for parents to use with students at home, as well as resources that are designed specifically for self-directed learning for students who might be looking for some activities and resources to use for their own learning. Again, that's at learninglab.si.edu/distance learning. And so I'm going to just put up this final slide here. So if you have just joined us, looks like a couple people have just jumped on. Welcome to our weekly office hours. We're here between the hours of 4 and 5 p.m. most Tuesdays. Any question is a good question. So please feel free to use the chat on the right of the screen on YouTube or the comment button on Facebook to ask your question. Looks like we have a question here from Stephanie. Stephanie, thanks for your question. Is the Smithsonian TV channel considered a digital resource? How can someone get involved with that? The Smithsonian does have a channel, and That's typically available through kind of wherever you get your TV. So if you're getting that through a cable package or a satellite package, the TV, the channel itself is traditionally packaged with those. Some of the videos are available on the Learning Lab. They make a lot of the shorter video and video clips available on online, so you should be able to find some of that material available for you via the Learning Lab. Is there something specific you were looking for, Stephanie, or just generally interested? If you are just joining us, please feel free to submit your questions via the chat area or the comment area if you're on YouTube or on Facebook. And that's how I can see your questions. So I can't hear you or see you, but I can read your questions and dive into to help address them. So let me know if you have questions. Oh, Stephanie, I feel your pain. I'm feeling the same way. Um, I should let you know that we are beginning to reopen. So this past Friday, the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, the Udvar Hazy Center, which is our Air and Space Museum located in Virginia, that's out by Dulles Airport, has reopened, as well as the National Zoo here in Washington, D.C. So those are both reopened. They do require timed entry. It's a free ticket, but it does require a pre-reservation. So we are starting to slowly reopen. Um, but she follows up here, Stephanie, with volunteer opportunities with Learning Lab TV channel, etc. So Oh, thanks so much, Stephanie. This is great. She works in education. Love all you're doing with distance learning. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. I can call your attention actually to if you're looking specifically at the Learning Lab, we do have some volunteer opportunities available. The Smithsonian has a lot of volunteer opportunities available across their museums. I can show you this particular one here with the Learning Lab, but then I'll show you where you can find out a little bit more about that. So scroll down here. We have some volunteer information. I'll put a link to this also in the chat area, Stephanie, so you can get directly to it. Ooh, looks like we've got a little bug there, Stephanie. Um, Let me direct you actually to this broader site here. Just a moment here. Wait for my internet. There we go. So I'm not sure if you've seen this. Uh, if you've already sort of visited this, but this is our central place that gives you all the current volunteer opportunities that are available online. You can see there's a special section over here for digital volunteers. Um, One of the great ways, if you haven't checked it out yet, Stephanie, is the Smithsonian Transcription Center. This is a place where we put up resources that have been digitized, but that have text on them, and they haven't yet been transcribed. Which means we need volunteers basically to look at the photographs, look at the things, the photograph of the piece of paper, something that has been digitized, and to figure out what the text is. A lot of times it's things from the 19th century or earlier where computers can't necessarily determine the text. And so we work with all kinds of volunteers. We have 25,000 volunteers who work on this program. Everything from the Freedmen's Bureau to natural history, scientific specimens and collections. it's really a great way to kind of volunteer a bit with the Smithsonian uh, um, and find out some things. It's actually every time I do it, I learn something new about whatever thing I'm looking at. It's a really kind of fun opportunity. But if you're looking for a more direct volunteer experience, I would definitely recommend that you check out the si.edu/volunteer and see what opportunities are available. And thank you for thinking of us, and thank you for reaching out um, to us. I would say if others are watching it and are interested, uh, if you go to the homepage of the Smithsonian, just in terms of kind of reopening, um, you will see under this visit area here, up to the minute listing of what is open, what is available. And you're curious about um, what's possible in the physical space. We are slowly and cautiously beginning to reopen spaces that we know everyone can, our staff as well as our visitors can be safe. So that information is there on the si.edu homepage. So, well, thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate you stopping in today, and thanks for the question. Of a comment here from Waleski. Yes, I'm a teacher librarian. I'm always looking for information to bring my school and district. That's great. I'm going to just pull up the distance learning page we talked about. I showed here in a minute. You may not have been with us. When our museums closed in March, really quickly, the education community really rallied around understanding and supporting the needs of teachers and librarians and students, as well as kind of all the parents who suddenly were also doing some of that work, and pulled together this distance learning resources page. I'll put the URL here up on the banner so that everyone can see that. Here we go. On this page, as you scroll down, you'll find a whole series of resources that come from across the Smithsonian's museums, research centers, libraries, archives, and the National Zoo for different audiences or for different purposes. And so the first section you'll find are resources that are aligned to national audiences in a variety of subject areas. You can see we update this as new resources are developed or aligned, but each one is pulled into a Google Doc. So we're using that to quickly and easily and links to a huge number of resources that are available from across the Smithsonian for you and the students that you engage with. If I continue to scroll down here, you can see we have an English, Spanish bilingual resources. Those are both for teachers and families. We have resources here that are aligned specifically to the Washington, D.C. Public School K through 8 pacing guides. You can see each of the grades there. So if you are local to D.C., you will find things specifically geared for DC. Continuing down, we've done a lot of work connecting with parents who have been looking for the kinds of resources to help their children have a productive time while they've been at home at the end of the school year, but also this summer and as we head into a mostly or partially digital fall semester. So you can see we have resources here for caregivers. We've got a great activity guide here. This just came out a few weeks ago, which is a downloadable, printable road trip activity for young learners where they can really do some really cool, fun stuff. We also have these great choice boards. These were developed to call attention to specific activities, things that science, social studies, arts, and and the arts. And so there's actually 10 of these on the distance learning page that are great projects and give students some agency in selecting the things that they might be working on. Continuing down the page here on the distance learning, we've got resources for teens and tweens and for lifelong learners, a full listing of our office hours. And then finally, at the bottom, what we have is a listing of real-time live events that are going on. So you can see these are ways to connect directly with Smithsonian educators, with curators, with scientists, all the great folks that work at the Smithsonian. These are all primarily all free events that you and your children or you and your students can connect with. And there's information about all of these. You can see there's usually 5 to 10 events going on almost every day, and this will ramp up significantly next month into the fall as we go back to school and create a lot more programming around all kinds of things that are happening during the school year. And this, of course, updates all the time as new events are created and that. And well, Leslie's asking a question here. Are you planning to have live chat for teachers? So, we have this office hours every week, which is, a live chat experience for people to connect and ask questions. Some of the events are more conversational in terms of chat for teachers. Some of them are more like broadcasts, where they're more like television programs. All the programs are kind of different. So I definitely encourage you to sort of check out that listing on the Smithsonian Distance Learning Resources page. That's available again at learninglab.si.edu/distance learning. If anybody is just joining us, welcome to our weekly online Smithsonian Learning Lab office hours. This is just an open forum for questions about finding and using Smithsonian digital resources or using any of the tools of the Learning Lab itself. We don't have a specific agenda or program. We're just here to answer any questions. We've been talking here to Waleska and Stephanie about some volunteer opportunities that are available from the Smithsonian, as well as some distance learning resources that are consolidated or aggregated on the Learning Lab page that you see there up on the screen. So if you do have questions, the way that you can get those questions into me is using the chat box if you're on YouTube, or the comment button on Facebook. Those comments and questions come into me here, and I can address them as they come in. Waleska is just saying thank you for the information. Thank you for joining us, Waleska. You're welcome. Please let me know if you have other questions. Stephanie has a question. Are the mock webinars part of the virtual learning lab? I've watched a few of them. Stephanie, I'm not sure if I understand what you mean by the mock webinars. Could you give me some information on that? Maybe we can see if we can find them on the Learning Lab. This is the question here from Stephanie. Maybe someone else who's watching might know also. The mock webinars. I would say that, on the Learning Lab, it's not just images. We do have a lot of media. So much of the video content from across the Smithsonian is available there. There we go. I'm part of the Smithsonian Associates, but I'm sure of how the Smithsonian Associates relates. Oh, well, Stephanie, we do have some material from the Smithsonian Associates. So the Smithsonian Associates is part of the Smithsonian that does a lot of adult education. Traditionally, they do a lot of in-person classes, all kinds of really awesome classes on photography or arts. And they also do a lot of evening programming for book authors or celebrities or scientists, other really interesting, fascinating folks. Because a lot of their programming though is does require tickets. They do sell that. I'm guessing a lot of that material might not be available. If you know a topic, Stephanie, you might be able to search for it on the Learning Lab to see if the video recordings of those are there. I'm just not quite sure if they're part of that. The Learning Lab ingests all the video content that the Smithsonian units, the Smithsonian departments, museums, libraries, Smithsonian Associates post publicly on YouTube. So if the Smithsonian Associates is making those recordings available on YouTube, then you would find them in the Learning Lab. If anyone's just joining us, I'd like to just say welcome to our weekly office hours. My name is Darren Milligan. I'm here in Washington, D.C., and this is our weekly 1-hour session where we're just here to answer any questions you might have about finding and using any of the digital resources from across the Smithsonian. And or if you're looking Learning Lab, we can also walk you through how to use the Learning Lab or how to use some of its tools. But we don't have a set agenda or specific programs. We're really just here to respond to any questions. So if you do have a question, the way that you can get that into me here is if you're watching this on our YouTube, Smithsonian Education YouTube channel. Looks like we have a couple folks watching there. You can use the chat area that should be just to the right of your screen. If you're watching this streaming on our Smithsonian Education Facebook channel, you'll use the comment button that's typically just below the video section to get your question or comment to me. We've had someone who are looks like watching today on YouTube, and so let me know when you have some questions, and we'll dive in when we have them. I have a question here from Waleska, who's joining us on YouTube. Having this resource available is a plus, especially for teachers right now. We're looking for digital programming and digital resources. Do you have recorded webinars or workshops? We on the here with our video. It looks like it's coming in and out a little bit. Sorry about that if you are experiencing that, but it's the nature of how we're all doing this right now at home. But we do have a lot of video material available on the Learning Lab. We can show you here really quickly. The best way really I'm going to scroll down here in the home page to the Discover section and click just here on the magnifying glass. This is going to do a search of every single thing that's available on the Learning Lab. So it's going to pull back, I think, about 5.5 million individual resources. And so these are images and videos. And once we get it just for video content, so you can get we'll get a little sampling of what's available in terms of video from the Learning Lab, from the Smithsonian. Um, and you can, but like I said, it's usually best to, if you're looking for a webinar on a specific topic, just do a search on the Learning Lab. As you can see, we're returning 5.5 million individual resources. And I'm going to come up here to this refine search. I'm going to open up that panel. I'm going to come down and just ask for video. And I'm going to click the update search button. So this is going to narrow from 5 million down to several thousand, and give you a sense of just the video content that is available. We don't have a way of just sorting by webinars or workshops, but there are a lot there, Waleska, if you're looking for a specific topic. I definitely encourage searching for that. As you can see, we've got just over 16,000 videos available from across the Smithsonian. Some of these are lectures. Some of these are produced video. Some of there you can see material here from the Smithsonian channel from the earlier question. If you know where which museum produced that video, you can come over here and narrow that down. Maybe we can look at see if there's Smithsonian Associates over here. I don't see that, so it looks like they might not have some of their material available there, at least on the Learning Lab. But that's how you can really sort of get access to the video material in the lab itself. Awesome. Well, that's good. Thank you. You're welcome. But as you know, I mean, certainly, the Smithsonian is still producing a lot of programming. It's all happening digitally, but that material is going online and is going into the Learning Lab. So, every time I go to the Learning Lab, there's more content there. We launched the Learning Lab 4 years ago, and when we did, we had about 1 million digital resources available, and now we've got 5.4 million. So that means the Smithsonian's digitizing a lot of its collection, but it's also producing a lot more digital material. So you can see there's just 16,000 video materials there. So hopefully that's a good start. If anyone has just joined us, welcome to Office Hours. Feel free to ask your question. There's some instructions on how to do that, and we'll be standing by. Looks like a few folks may have just joined us. If you have, welcome to Smithsonian Learning Lab office hours. My name is Darren. I'm here in DC at the Smithsonian, sort of. I'm at home like many of us, but normally I'd be at the Smithsonian at my office at the Center for Learning and Digital Access. This is our weekly open session. We're here from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern, most Tuesdays, and just here to answer any questions you might have. So if you have a question about finding and using a digital resource from the Smithsonian, or how to access and use the tools of the Smithsonian Learning Lab platform, you're in the right place, and you can ask those questions away. The way that you do that, if you're watching us on the Smithsonian Education YouTube channel, you can use the chat area that's usually located just to the right of the video. Sometimes it's just below. If you're watching us on streaming on Facebook, on the Smithsonian Education Facebook page, to get your question into me, you use the comment feature. There should be a comment button, or you may see a few comments there, beginning with one from Smithsonian Education. But that's how you can get your inquiry, your question into me. And in the meantime, um, I will just wait for those to come in. So welcome. I'm just seeing a comment here from Waleska, who we've been chatting with throughout the first part of office hours tonight. You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us. Tell your friends about the digital resources available from the Smithsonian, and definitely come back to office hours if you have questions in the future. So thanks, Waleska. If anyone has just joined us here in our second half hour of our weekly 1 hour office hours, welcome. My name's Darren. I'm here in Washington, D.C., and I'm your host this week for our Smithsonian Learning Lab office hours. This is just an open session. You can sort of see I was scrolling through my phone, waiting for some questions to come in. If you do have a question, that's great. You're in the right place. Any question is a good one. Anything about the Smithsonian. If you've got a question, particularly about a digital learning resource or the Smithsonian Learning Lab, I should be able to answer that. But if you have other questions, I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. But the way that you can get your questions into me is depending on how you're watching our office hours today. If you're on YouTube, you should see a chat area with a pretty lively conversation with Stephanie and Waleska and myself joining in there just to the right of your screen. If you're streaming this on Facebook today, you should see a comment button or a comment area, probably just below the video area. And that's how you can get your questions into me if you're on Facebook. I will be standing by until about 5 o'clock, so another 20, 25 minutes today. And let me know how we can help. If anyone has just joined us, welcome to Office Hours. This is our weekly 1 hour open session. My name's Darren. I'm your host this week, and here at the Center for Learning and Digital Access at the Smithsonian. And if you've got a question about using the Smithsonian out there in the world, in your home or your classroom or in your studies, you're in the right place. feel free to submit those questions to me. Um, Use the chat or the comment box, depending on where you're watching this stream, and I will dive into those questions. Just sort of quiet now while we wait for some questions to come in, but take your time. We'll be here till about 5 o'clock Eastern today. Welcome. I have a question from an old friend here from the Learning Lab. Hi, Dale. Thank you for joining us. Dale brings up the passing of John Lewis this week. Really sort of a sad and time in the middle of a really sad time for many of us. Moment of so much change and uncertainty. Dale, I'd love to know what John Lewis meant to you. I think to me he was sort of a symbol of what's possible. I think a lot of us have um, been frightened by kind of our world, both meaning the sort of dual pandemics of uh, of COVID and of sort of systematic injustice, racial injustice, and um, I think the reminder that people like John Lewis existed and were able to bring about um, change is something that I think should give us all hope. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, Dale. Thanks for dropping into office hours today. Um, uh, Dale used to support us at the Center for Learning and Digital Access, as well as other places at the Smithsonian. He did some great work at the Art Lab, and maybe other places, Dale, that I'm not remembering. But um, he worked with us at the Center for Learning and Digital Access. Ooh, Dale, when was it? 5 years ago, and helped the mission of our office quite a bit. So, I'd love to hear what you think, Dale. Thanks for joining us. If others have thoughts or questions that you'd like to share, please feel free to do that. We'll be here for um, about 15 more minutes today at the conclusion, about 5 o'clock of our weekly office hours. We have a question here from Stephanie. I know the Learning Lab is mostly a virtual service, but were there ever in-person events or activities prior to the pandemic? Yeah, well, certainly the Learning Lab is a digital space. We primarily work with teachers and curriculum specialists and librarians and parents and students who aren't coming to our museums or can't come to our museums. One of the purposes of the Learning Lab is to ensure that everyone has equitable access to everything that the Smithsonian has available. Um, Now, that said, before the pandemic, we did do a lot of in-person professional development, sort of teacher training workshops. We were often at our affiliate museums. The Smithsonian has several hundred museums, museum affiliates who are not part of our 19 museums that make up the Smithsonian, but they're museums that have a special relationship with the Smithsonian, and we do a lot of joint programming with them. And so, in the past, we did a lot of in-person events, and those usually took the form of working with groups of local teachers to help them better understand how to make use of the Smithsonian in their teaching, or in their own lives. But that's most of the type of in-person activities and events. Certainly, we work with a lot of the museum educators who have all kinds of in-person events throughout the year, and oftentimes the Learning Lab is a support to that, where is either the place that teachers can go to build off of what they've learned, or a place that they can refer to after their visit to connect with the resources that they found out about during their in-person event. So um, it looks like we may have a few new people just joining us. Thank you for dropping in. We have about 10 minutes left in our office hours this week, but that's plenty of time to answer a whole slew of questions. So if you've got one, the way that you can get your question into me is by using the chat box. If you're watching this on the Smithsonian Education YouTube channel, it should be just kind of to the right of your screen. If you are watching this on our Facebook, Smithsonian Education Facebook stream, the question area will take the form of the comment button or the comment area that should be just below the video screen. And using either the chat or the comment area, if you can type in there and send those messages into me, I'll see those here, and I can address those questions as they come in. Dale, thanks for your follow-up. We were talking with Dale earlier about John Lewis and the passing of John Lewis this past week. And I'm so excited, Dale, that you had the chance to meet him. What an amazing opportunity. I wish I had. That would have been really cool. Dale, when did you meet him? What was that chance? I'd love to know more about that. What an amazing opportunity to meet someone like that. That's really awesome. This was a follow-up. If you have just joined us, Dale had asked us previously, asked me what John Lewis had meant to me, and he's now sharing his experience that he had in actually meeting John Lewis. Uh, So uh, Dale's responding. Uh, Dale had commented earlier that he had had the opportunity to meet John Lewis in person, and so I'd asked him for some for that story. You met him at the airport on your way to Atlanta, Georgia. What an amazing person to see at the airport. I can't say I've ever seen anybody that great in the airport before. What an awesome opportunity you had, Dale. That's very cool. I'd love to. Did you have the opportunity to chat with him at all? It looks like I may have lost connection there for a second. Sorry if my video or the screen broke up there for a minute, but hopefully I am back with you. Um, and we're here until about 5 o'clock today, so just about 5 more minutes. So if you do have any other last minute questions uh, to uh, to address this week, please do let me know. Um, like I said, we are here most Tuesdays. We won't be here this coming week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks for our next iteration of Smithsonian Learning Lab office hours. You can always find the full listing of our events on our homepage. If you scroll yourself all the way to the bottom, you will come to our events section, and you can see here our full listing of office hours. You can see our first office hours in August is on Tuesday, August 11th at 4 o'clock. Um, Starting on August 11th, we'll return to our weekly office hours. You can see we have a full schedule up through here through September. So we will be available every single week, starting in 2 weeks. If you have a specific question or need some help. I should say too, if you are caught midweek and you've got a question on for the Smithsonian, you can always connect with us via email. The Smithsonian has an email address, learning@si.edu, and you can connect with the Smithsonian educator by emailing us that at that address. Once we receive that email, we'll read it and we'll find the most appropriate museum or educator to forward that to. So you don't need to worry about who to connect with or what museum you should be reaching out to. You can simply just send an email to learning@si.edu, and we'll take care of the rest and make sure that we get you connected with the right person. Um, uh, so definitely, I encourage you to connect with us in the coming weeks for our office hours, and connect for great stories and conversation we've had today. We were just wrapping up a conversation with Dale, who used to work with us at the Learning Lab and is now out there in the world. And we were talking about John Lewis and our memories and of him. And Dale revealed that he actually met John Lewis at one point at the airport, and was able to speak to him for a minute, which is really great, and a really amazing memory of a really special person that we lost this past week. So, Dale, thanks so much for joining us and for sharing that story with us. And um, uh, I think it's a great place to end our session this week. Thanks to Stephanie and Waleska and Dale for joining us this week. Thanks for the great conversations and the great questions. As always, feel free to reach out to us at learning@si.edu if you've got questions or need some support outside of office hours. But we'll be back in 2 weeks for our next scheduled Learning Lab office hours. And until then, I hope everyone is safe, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks.